Amelia reached for her seatbelt and pulled it across her body. Her lips tightened as she turned the key in the ignition, but she didn't answer. The engine roared to life, and the headlights lit the bushes in front of us. My breath stopped when I caught sight of two small, shiny objects in the distance. Eyes. The creature was far enough away from the car that I couldn't see its body, but judging by how high its eyes seemed to hover above the ground, it was huge, like mountain lion huge. "Am!" I cried. "There's something out there!" Amelia gritted her teeth and spoke under her breath. "Yeah, I thought so." "Let's get out of here!" My heart slammed against my ribcage. In all the years I'd been hiking this trail, I hadn't seen anything larger than a bighorn sheep. I racked my brain, trying to remember if sheep eyes glowed, but I was pretty sure they weren't nocturnal. Could it be some sort of canine? Maybe a deer? Yes, a deer. That wasn't so scary. "No," Amelia said lowly, unclicking her seatbelt and kicking her door open. "This ends now." "What the— Amelia!" "Stay here," she instructed. "Watch Kiwi." Amelia slammed her door shut and headed straight for the bushes. What the hell was she thinking, going after a wild animal? If I didn't know better, I'd say she was the dweeb, but she wasn't this stupid. I jumped out of the car behind her. "Amelia!" I hissed, keeping my voice as low as I could. She turned back to me. The headlights of our car illuminated her. "I said to stay in the car." "Are you insane?" I wanted to rush over to her and drag her back to the car, but I still didn't know what kind of animal was out there. Fear stalled me, and I remained rooted in place next to the vehicle. Amelia ignored me and stepped forward, disappearing into the darkness beyond the light of our headlights. She called out into the bushes, but I couldn't hear what she was saying. "Amelia's officially lost it." The hairs on my arms stood. Kiwi let out a high-pitched shriek from inside the car and pecked against the windshield. Against my better judgment, I abandoned the safety of the vehicle and hurried forward behind Amelia. "Come out, Naomi," I heard Amelia say. "Come and face me, you lousy piece of dirt." "Amelia!" I whisper-screamed. Amelia had wandered so far into the darkness that I could only make out her silhouette. "I told you to stay in the car," her voice shot back. She spoke with such authority that I almost considered turning back just so I wouldn't have to deal with her lecture later. Before I could make a decision, a shadow leapt from the bushes and slammed into her. My hands shot up to cover my mouth before a scream erupted from my lungs. Amelia stumbled backward into the light, but tripped over a shrub and fell to the ground. She got to her elbows and scurried backward. A low growl came from somewhere in the darkness. Every inch of my body shook, but I rushed forward and looped my arms under Amelia's to pull her to her feet. "Am!" I broke off. I hadn't even helped her to her feet yet. Up closer, I got a better look at the shadow in the darkness. It moved with finesse, as if every movement was calculated. The creature was stalking us, ready to pounce. It paced in front of us, its shoulder blades rising and falling with every step. A cat. But it wasn't the kind of cat you wanted to cuddle. This cat was bigger than me, with sharp claws and the kind of powerful teeth that could rip a human's throat out. Amelia was right. I'm dead. We both are. "Don't make any sudden movements," I whispered under my breath, completely frozen in place. The cat in front of us was huge and covered in a coat of blonde fur. I'd never seen a cougar in real life before, but this seemed bigger, like some sort of African cat. Had it escaped from the zoo? I hoped that was the case and that it was used to humans, and that it wasn't hungry. Against my instruction, Amelia jumped to her feet and dusted the dirt off her shorts, like she hadn't noticed the beast in front of us. Except she stared right at it, almost like she knew the creature personally. She turned from the cat and grabbed my arm. Her fingernails dug into my skin, but I couldn't bring myself to move for fear that it'd run after us. She tugged harder, and I had no choice but to stumble behind her. "I told you to stay in the car," Amelia scolded. "I know, but—" A screech ripped out of my chest. Amelia's hand fell from my arm as her body crashed to the ground again. The cat stood over her, baring its teeth. Before I could react, Amelia shoved her elbow up into the cat's nose. The cat immediately retaliated by swiping its claws at the arm she held protectively in front of her face. Instinct overtook. I didn't even think about what I was doing when I drew my arm back and hurled the rock I still held at the cat. I didn't wait to see if I hit it. I bent and grabbed a thick stick in the dirt nearby and swung it upward to connect with the cat's jaw. The dry stick snapped in half as it connected. The cat continued to stare down my sister, as if it hadn't felt a thing. I hurled the remaining half of my stick at its head. By sheer luck, I managed to hit it square in the eye. The cat stumbled backward with a whimper, but before I could help Amelia to her feet, the cat turned its frightening gaze on me. I mean, its one eye was winky, but that didn't make me feel any better. Sheer terror ripped through my gut, and my skin heated so much that sweat broke out across my brow. A split second passed. Then the cat lunged, launching itself through the air toward me. My scream filled the air around us, and I threw my arms out in front of me. If I wasn't scared before, I was freaking terrified when a burst of red light shot across the space between us. I didn't have the time to contemplate the strange phenomenon. I expected a blow to come, for sharp claws to rip into my skin and strong jaws to tear me apart. But instead, the cat twisted sideways and landed on the ground on its side. I only let my shock last a split second. I rushed forward and grabbed Amelia's arm and dragged her to her feet. Together, we sprinted back to the car. Amelia shifted into reverse before I even had my door closed. She tore out of the parking lot without looking back. Kiwi was going crazy, flying around the back seat. "What were you thinking?" I shrieked. "We could have been killed." "Forget about that," Amelia cried. Her eyes darted between mine and the road. "Did I see you use fire, Sophia?" "What?" Is that what that flash of red had been? Some sort of fireball? "It was, wasn't it?" Amelia accused. "You're Coigny." "Coigny?" I practically yelled. "Have you gone insane?" "No," Amelia bit back, obviously offended. "You tried to pet a wild cat." Amelia's jaw tensed, but she softened her tone. "I wasn't trying to pet it." "Then what were you doing?" I demanded. "It doesn't matter," she said. "What matters is that Mom and Dad lied to me. To both of us." I was momentarily struck silent. What did Mom and Dad have to do with this? "They told me you were human. Adopted." Amelia slowed the car to match the speed limit. I swallowed hard. This had to be a dream. Or maybe I'd been drugged. Apparently, an African cat attack in the middle of Salt Lake I could believe, but there was no way my parents had lied to me for 18 years about being adopted. Sure, I was the black sheep of the family with lighter hair and paler skin, but we told each other everything. Yet that wasn't the most disturbing part of what Amelia had just said. "Human?" My voice shook. "What else is there?" Amelia pressed her lips together. "How do I put this?" She took a deep breath. "Sophia, you're magical, like me. You're an elementai,